In today's video, we're going to be building a flip cart for our Wen jointer and Oliver benchtop planer. Now, I've added a couple of really cool features that I haven't seen anywhere before that make this flip cart pretty handy. We're also going to use this video to share some tips and tricks and help you save some money around the shop, a new dust collection system for your miter saw that absolutely ups the game, talk a little bit about CNCs and help maybe demystify it a little bit for folks who are interested, and share what might be the coolest tool of 2022 with you at the end of the video. Before we jump into the build, let's take a quick look at the tools that we're going to be putting on the flip cart. First up is this little Wen joiner. This is a 6-inch benchtop joiner, so 6-inch means it has 6 inches of cutting capacity. We've been testing this for over a year now, using it quite frequently, and we really like it. Now, this isn't something you're going to make any big woodworking projects with, but for cutting boards, smaller projects, smaller frames, I'd say anything under 2.5 to 3 feet and less than 6 inches wide, this is a great little joiner. And what's really nice about it is the cost. This comes in at $255 or something near that. Now, this says it's a spiral head, and technically it really isn't. It just has 6 different lateral positions on the blade, or positions across that circumference, the cylinder thing that the little square carbides sit on, and they sit in there offset. They still attack the material very straight, but having those 4 options to switch the blade around, it's really nice. It's nicer than having the straight blades. It does have a better cutting performance than if it had straight blades. I like it even better than Tersa blades. If the Wen joiner is an affordable option for a joiner, this planer is the exact opposite. This thing is expensive. It comes in at $1,200, but it's totally worth it. It is hands down the best benchtop planer that Maggie and I have ever used. The bird helix head on it makes really nice smooth cuts, and that's one of the reasons we don't use a drum sander in here anymore. It's just not needed. It also has this little Wixie digital caliper on it that we use from time to time. It's not something we use a lot, but when we're planing different size thicknesses and we want to get them all down to the exact thickness, that comes in very handy. The dust collection on this, you don't have to have a dust collector hooked up to it. It has forced chip ejection, so the chips will come out on their own if you don't have a dust collector, but it also has, hookups for a dust collector, which is nice to have when you're running a planer because they make a lot of chips. Before we jump into the build today, I want to talk a little bit about the build project itself. We're going to be cutting it out on the CNC today, primarily because a lot of our woodworking tools, we're in the process of moving out and moving some new ones in. Definitely, this is an easy project that you could do on just regular woodworking tools. So stick around. When we put this together, I'll talk you through a little bit of that. And this project's got some neat little hidden gems that you're not going to want to miss out. For the flip cart, we're using the better part of 1 sheet of plywood and 2 2x8s for the base structure. Now, we're using the CNC to cut this out today, and I realize CNCs can be a little bit intimidating, especially if you're not familiar with them and aren't interested in getting into them. But when you break it down, there's only really 3 things that you need to know, or rather 5 things about 3 things that you need to know. You need to have a way to lay out a file, and that really takes about 5 different little operations, really simple. You need to learn how to lay out G-code. Again, you're right in that 5 range. If once you learn 5 tricks, you can do G-code pretty easy. And then you need to learn how to operate the CNC machine. And we're back at, there's only really 5 things that you need to know to run a CNC machine, or at least to get started. So 5 things 3 times over and you're capable of running a machine. It's not super complicated, it's just that there's so much information out there about it that it can get complicated or seem complicated at a glance. I don't want to get too deep into the CNC today, but it really is not difficult to run a CNC machine. The problem is there's just so much information out there and there's no real good direction on where to get the right information to get started. It really is very simple. 3 basic operations, 5 steps inside of each of those operations, and you're designing your own files and cutting them out on a CNC machine. Really. One more thing before we jump into the actual build of the flip cart is I want to show you this. This is an upgrade to the dust collection on the Bosch articulating arm saw. My friend Chris over at Benchtop Woodworks has been working on these for several saws over the past couple of years, and this one's been out for about a month now. We've been testing it here. This is actually a prototype. This is one of the finished versions, comes in orange and gray, and we'll be putting this on our saw soon. But this works so good. It is 10 times better than the dust collection that comes with the Bosch, which is awful, to be honest. This makes it so much more pleasant to use. Now, he's got these for a handful of saws, and I'll put a link down in the description box below so you guys can check out what saws he has available for. If you have one of these Bosches, I absolutely recommend these. It makes a huge difference in your dust collection. The people that have already got them are just raving about it. The rubber band thing on the clamps will make sense here in just a minute, but first what I need to do is take the top and the bottom and get them fastened to the sides of the top of this flip cart. So this is the section that's actually gonna, do the flipperoo thing. All I'm gonna do with this is glue it down with some Tight Bond 2, add 6, maybe 7 brad nails to that face. Brad nails are 18 gauge, 1.5 inch long. They don't need more than that. I'm never gonna screw this. That's gonna be good. Just a quick little trick here, using a cabinet scraper is amazing for removing excess glue squeeze out. So this is why I put rubber bands on the clamps here. You can see that little Rockler spring clamp in the back. It's kind of handy, but they're a little bit pricey. You can just take some rubber bands and put them on your inexpensive F-clamps, and it does the same thing. And we actually use that quite often in the shop. It's a nice trick to know for just making things a little bit easier. One of the things that's always driven me a little bit crazy about flip carts is usually the top flipperoo part is hollow, and when you turn on these machines, it actually kind of like a drum body. It makes a lot of noise. So what I want to do is put some drawers in there. I'm going to fill the drawers with Kaizen foam. Now, rather than cutting them out on the CNC, oh, look at that dust collection. So good. Rather than cutting them out on the CNC, I'm just going to use a little job site table saw and the chop box to cut out some drawers. And once I have the drawers made, I'll know what size I need to cut the Kaizen foam. So that's going to fill up the body of that flip top part, so there'll be nothing in there that's hollow. And then I can also use the Kaizen foam to put things in, like the cutter blades and the wrenches and little tools I need to adjust these tools, and that just gives it a little bit more handiness. That's a technical term. With the drawers all fitted, there's only a couple things left to do on the top, and that's first of all to wax it down. I've waxed the drawers and the body of the top, so I'm using the wax as a finish, and it has another purpose as well. I also need to add the pins, so this is what the whole top will rotate on or flip over, and I'm just using some oak dowel for that and gluing them in. Now the last thing I'm going to add is kind of a turntable to the top of this, and the reason being is this is fairly narrow at 20 inches wide, and if I'm running long stock through the planer, it's not going to have a lot of support in the front and the back, and longer stock can make this tip over. So what I want to be able to do is rotate the planer so it's 90 degrees to the body itself, so that way when we're running longer stock it has more support in the front and the back, and we'll show that off at the end of the video. It's done. Okay, Maggie, what's your favorite part of the cart?
That I don't have to pick up the heavy planer anymore. It's small, but it's heavy.
It's not my favorite part, though. We've got some drawers built into this. This is really nice because these are hollow. Typically, when you build these flip carts, you see hollow bodies, and they end up acting like kind of like a bass or a drum. When these machines are running, there's a lot of vibration, and it just amplifies the sound. So just having the drawers filled with Kaizen foam makes it a quieter experience. And then we have a place to put some of the stuff. Like in this case, we put a quick connect. So we have the cord and then the wrench in here for changing the blades, and I'm sure we'll stick more stuff in there as we get further down the pipe. And then behind it here, we made a nice little home for the push paddles. Turn it over, there's just a little pull cord here. Pop that out, and then it flips right over. And these two tools are pretty well balanced, so there's no real effort to do it. Just flip it over, put the push pin back in, and voila, you've got your next tool. So on this side, when you pull out the drawer, the Kaizen foam faces up. We've got some spare blades, calipers, and just a wrench again for tightening and changing the blades. We'll add more stuff to it as we need it. Now my favorite thing on this cart is the fact that I can pivot this top here. So the reason that's really necessary on this is because if we're doing long stock, like say 8 feet, something hefty, and we're doing it on the narrow side, it might get a little tippy with all that weight out front, but by being able to turn this perpendicular or 90 degrees to the, I guess, narrow side of the cart, now I can feed that long, heavy stock through and not have to worry about that potential of tipping. So on the back for the dust shroud or the dust collection shroud, we use our quick locks, and we just put a hose plate down here on the base. That clicks right in, so we can quickly just add the dust collection to the machine or the dust shroud to the machine. And then when we're done with it, it pops off and goes right back in place. It's a little easier to do if I'm standing over there. And then we can flip it back around to use the joiner on the other side. We're pretty tickled to have this in the shop. I know Maggie is, because you know, now she's not going to have to carry this heavy planer around for us, which is really nice. Thank you for watching the whole video. And for watching the whole video, we're going to give you a quick peek at the coolest tool I've seen in 2022. This is one of the coolest joiners I've ever seen. Brand new to 2022, will be out on the market here very shortly. And I'm helping Phantom CNC R&D this. Power feeders on joiner is not something that's new. What is new is this joiner cuts both the flat and the vertical at the same time. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. If you feel like this video earned your subscription, we would love to have it. And don't forget, if you do subscribe, to hit that bell notification next to it so you get notified when our videos pop up. Maggie promises to talk a lot more in the next video. Or not. One more note of housekeeping, there's not going to be any plans available for this. That's not something we're doing a lot of anymore. But I wanted to show you this project and hopefully inspire you when you do your next space-saving project. There might be some things on here that you'd like to add to yours. We will see you guys in the next video.